All right, welcome everyone. This is a follow-up to a class that I taught back in December that I think, I can't remember what it was called. It was called like, Why is it taking me so long to heal? That's right. So this is basically part two to that. It's what's in the way of my healing. Like I said, I'm going to put this on YouTube so you can share this with your friends as well. And there might be a little bit of crossover to the earlier video, but I'm going to try to make some new points. And I think that this topic is important because a lot of times we are on our healing journey and we're trying to do all the things and we're hitting roadblocks and we have some blind spots to why those roadblocks are happening. So we are going to talk about some of those roadblocks today. So let's begin. Today, I'm going to talk about a handful of different things that tend to affect our healing process. I'll go into each one of these points a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about our belief systems, the elephant in the room, the cell danger response, when fight and flight becomes normal for you, having a lack of somatic embodiment. We're going to talk a little bit about the importance of our old personality that stays the same while we're trying to use new tools and expecting change. That's going to be a big point of today's talk, and I'll be bringing some new information about that. We'll talk about worthiness and what can often result as a part of spiritual disconnect. And I may or may not touch on structural issues, nutrition, environment, but some of these things can play a factor for some people in their healing process. All right. First of all, to believe or not to believe that you can self-heal. And I wanted to make this point of, is this pseudoscience? Because I get a lot of that kind of feedback when I bring this topic up, that all of this self-healing, the biology of the belief, meditation to self-heal is crazy, wacko pseudoscience. And while that might seem the case, if you've ever heard of the very researched placebo and nocebo effect, we know that indeed belief is not pseudoscience. So placebo is, here, I'm going to just talk to you guys. Placebo is when you've heard in studies where there's a treatment that appears real, but it's designed to not have any therapeutic benefit. And they have proven through lots of different studies that if you believe you actually got the surgery or you're taking the pill, the body will heal, even when you didn't take it. So that's researched in Western medicine. Therefore, belief cannot be pseudoscience. It is proven. Also, the nocebo effect, which is where a patient will develop side effects or symptoms when they believe that the treatment is negative or could hurt them, even if maybe they didn't take the treatment. So the reverse can happen. Like you can actually make yourself have the symptoms of that medication that you think you took that you never took. And again, this is very well documented. So all this is to say is that our beliefs really matter. And this is part of why in Primal Trust, I have dozens of hours of videos for you to watch, because I'm trying to essentially reprogram your belief system about what's possible, about how healing happens, about why maybe you're stuck in chronic symptoms, even though you've done tons of treatment and it's been years and years and years. So the more that you believe in the science behind nervous system rebalancing to help with your symptoms, the more likely you are to heal. The more that you watch testimonials of others who've had very similar symptoms as you, and they overcome them using these tools, the more likely you are to heal. So I highly recommend that you check out our YouTube with all of our testimonials, our testimonials page on our website, which is super robust, and really look into what is your belief as you're going through this process. Do you actually believe that you can heal from this, that it's possible despite all of the diagnoses, the lab tests, etc.? It's really important to get that part of your brain on board while you are taking all of your precious time using these tools. So I'm going to go through each of these points and then we can open it up to questions at the end. So I'm going to move on to the next point. The next point is, what is your elephant? And what I mean by that is, if you didn't have your illness or your symptoms to focus on all day long, what would be the other thing in your current life that's causing you distress and resistance? You see, a lot of people think that it's their symptoms that are making them sick and making them feel bad, making them stay in stress. And if the symptoms would go away, their life would just be better. But I find that for most people, they were in some type of situation before their symptoms began. Maybe not always, but most of the time. So, in other words, what was there? What was going on that might have been stressful? Maybe you didn't have a lot of symptoms, but you did have an activated nervous system before you got sick. Or what is it that you're actually in a lot of resistance to, even though you are sick? Maybe it's your partner, or your job, or your parents, or your kids, or your finances. And so, in addition to addressing the nervous system, it's important to address the elephant in the room. It's important to do that maybe through some type of parts work therapy, getting financial help, working with your relationship. So finding something to be doing to address your elephant in the room alongside your nervous system rebalancing is an important piece of the puzzle. Let's move on. So obviously we talk a lot about cell danger response and primal trust. Cell danger response is, as you know, it's where you either you're not able to tolerate anything, eat anything, because your body is in that acute stage of cell danger response, meaning that your mitochondria has received signals that there is a threat in the body, and it is shut down and hardened that cell wall, and it is difficult to do things like digestion and detoxification and fighting infection. So obviously, when you're in that stage of severe threat, it's going to be hard to heal. But sometimes, for many of us, we have done lots of treatments, lots of detox. You've tried treating infections. Maybe you are out of mold or whatever, but you're still stuck in cell danger response because your brain got habituated to that, even though maybe that acute infection passed or the mold has passed. So you can stay stuck in cell danger response both in and away from the trigger, depending on how much your brain has been habituated to basically have a very low threshold of stress and danger in the system. And one of the things I want to say about cell danger response is that it doesn't always mean that you are literally in anxiety and fear, because I have some people say, well, I'm not in cell danger response. I have all these symptoms, but I'm not in cell danger response because I don't have anxiety. I'm not walking around that way. But when I look at them, they are in a massive sympathetic overdrive, meaning they are go, 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 multitasking. They actually are worried about a little bit of everything. They just don't think it's danger response. Well, I would still call that cell sympathetic overactivation, not able to rest and digest and repair response. So taking that into consideration where you're at, I mean, our whole program is really geared to teaching you to look at your body through the lens of cell danger response and to address that physiology through autonomic rebalancing. And, it's important to, I think, to relabel a lot of your symptoms as simply being stuck in cell danger response so that you know what to actually address. It's not, we can go on these wild goose chase, chasing down all of our lab tests and symptoms and this result and that result. But if ground zero is that your cells are stuck in a protection response, use your life force energy to address that, and the rest of it will unravel much easier. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, I kind of talked about this a little bit in the last point. I'm not stressed, I'm just busy. I have a handful of people like that. And this is just that your sympathetic overdrive has become normalized, but actually your autonomic nervous system is not happy. You just don't feel it. We talk about this in Module 1 of Regulate. You get addicted to these stress hormones and you're wondering why you have chronic symptoms. Why do I have this brain fog? Why do I have this? I'm I've got this great life, but you're actually just busy, 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 busy. And your cells, your body never get to go into that rest and repair. And you have normalized being a workaholic and a to-do-aholic and a rushaholic. So that's another point to really take into consideration. What is your set point? Do you have only one gear in life, meaning you only operate in go mode, but you don't really know how to slow down and relax? So that kind of person is often addicted to stress. And some of you guys have seen me talk about the Aura Ring, which I have on right now. It's a heart rate variability tracker, and it can give you nice insights into your day as to what your actual stress level is when you think you're just busy and doing things. I know it was actually illuminating for me to see that a lot of like the work I'm doing actually affects my heart rate variability and my stress level, even though, I'd say like this is my passion and I love doing this. But to my nervous system, if I've been doing this too many hours in a row, it's stress. It's not fun and it's not passionate to my nervous system. So, these trackers have, they can sometimes be a little bit triggering to be tracking these things all day. So you've got to decide if that's right for you. For me, I'm using them to sort of track different exercises and get more biofeedback as to a lot of the practices that we're doing to see how they affect the autonomic nervous system. But for me, it was a wake-up call into I'm not stressed, I'm just busy. I could see that my body actually was stressed in some situations. So again, that can all keep you in that cell danger response. Number 5, things that can keep you from your healing is the idea behind be in my body. What body? Some of you don't even feel your body. You're so much in your head that you've lost that body-brain connection. And this is why somatic awareness is so important for improving your vagal tone, for processing trauma, processing emotions, regulating that entire autonomic function. This is why in Primal Trust, we don't just do brain retraining, right? We do a lot of other things because being in the brain and just producing positive emotional states, while that's great, some people can cause that practice to be a form of escapism and continue with dissociative patterns that do not let emotions and energies actually process in the body and resolve. And so somatic awareness is crucial. And so definitely keep working through regulate. And definitely in level 2, we get into more somatic aspects so that you can feel the emotions of your body and you can handle being with them. We know that somatic processes help to improve our heart rate variability, helps to improve our digestion. And I find that when I do my testimonial interviews with people, that many of them say that the somatics part was the most helpful, that they learned how to relax around their body symptoms. They learned how to recognize that they weren't breathing and that they were just going and they were thinking. So this piece is about finding safety in the moment, in the body, despite our symptoms. It allows just so much energy to just start to move. It allows us to feel the shame that might be sitting in there that you're not feeling because you're used to just being triggered and reactive. And then you get down to ground zero where there's shame and guilt that needs to be sat with and processed. It allows us to become aware of our current environment and actually notice the beauty around us and that life has actually more to offer us than we've been giving it credit for when we're so stuck with our symptoms. So somatic awareness allows us to connect with life itself, and that just really runs the life force and our electromagnetic field so much better. Okay, moving on. So this point I want to make here because I'm noticing a trend in Primal Trust. And the trend is this. The people will do level 1 and then they stop. And, they stop and they think that they need to be in some enlightened state to move on to level 2. And I want to address this with this diagram because, first of all, healing is multifaceted. So many of you have come in here already addressing this area over here, the lifestyle cellular support. You're trying to live a healthy lifestyle. You're making good food choices. You're maybe trying to move your body. You've changed maybe your environment. Maybe you needed to clean up your environment. Maybe you're working on a little bit of drainage or detox and things like that, but your body was still stuck. But that is still a solid foundation. And I always say that, having that kind of lifestyle foundation is important. The problem is that sometimes we make that lifestyle the only focus on dealing with chronic illness, and we ignore the nervous system and the biofield. And that's where I see that people can get into problems. And that's why I think combining nervous system rebalancing with, integrative medicine and other sorts of healthy lifestyle choices can be a real nice win-win. So that solid foundation, often you learn about brain retraining, and you end up coming to Primal Trust, and you learn about optimizing your nervous system function, and you learn lots of tools, and that's great. The tools are great. They do help you with cell danger response. They help you regulate your nervous system. But there's another piece here, and there's a piece that I must not be talking about enough, because the level 2, I'm so surprised the number of people who are not taking level 2, when actually level 2, the mentorship was really, it's my prized program, if I were to say. Like, I love level 2. I think it's my favorite program. I think it's where I see the most amount of change, the deepest change, the most lasting change. So if you are somebody who's just been focusing on level 1 and waiting until you get to arrive to some place of regulation before you move on to level 2, I would reconsider that. Because level 2 is really going to affect your biofield. What do I mean by that? Well, you've got your nervous system in your body, right? And that's your autonomic functioning, your limbic system, your vagus nerve, and all of that is super important. But you also have this energy field all the way around your body. And this is proven. It's not woo-woo. You can measure it with physics. You can measure it with electromagnetic field measurements. You are an energy body. What creates that energy body around you? Well, it's actually, a lot of it's your personality, your family ancestry, your perception of reality, your emotional vibration set point. And we know through different research that this energy field actually gives the information to create the physical body. The energy vibration slows down and it creates your matter. And depending on what information is in that field, that gives instructions to your organs and to your body of how to form the matter in your body. And so, in addition to the inside of the body with the nervous system that we're rebalancing, doing things that affect your electromagnetic field, this energy grid around you, is the other piece of the puzzle here. So we are addressing our nervous system and we address our energetic system. And we do that, in my opinion, most directly in level 2 and level 3, where we are discovering who we actually are, our true self vibration, what we love, what we value. We're discovering these trauma patterns that are in our field all around us that are influencing our endocrine system, influencing our cellular behavior. And that those trauma patterns, the things that we bump up against that trigger us, as we remodel them, yes, it regulates the nervous system, but it's also repatterning the energy system around you. And so really, in my opinion, level 1 and level 2, they go together. Nervous system work, biofield optimization, communication, they go hand in hand. Improving the nervous system also improves the biofield. Improving the energetic biofield, which is really your vibration set point, how you perceive the world, improves the nervous system, and so on. And I know this might be a little abstract for some of you, and I hope to start teaching a little more of this in level 3 again. I took a little hiatus from level 3, but I'll be getting back into that. But you will get a good foundation for this in level 2. As you change who you are, your vibration, your set point, your electromagnetic field, which is measured with heart-brain coherence, changes. You become more coherent. The information in your body changes, and that's when we see some really amazing healing. So I cannot emphasize this enough. Please know that, let's say you're feeling like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for level 2. You're wanting to heal, right? You're wanting to heal. Just go through level 2 and just listen to it the first time. And a lot of people do that. They just listen. They don't even do a lot of the homework. They just listen and start to get that imprint of looking for who they are and what they love and what information in their biofield might be causing constant triggers in their life, and start to become aware. And then maybe they go through it a second time and they actually do the homework. And maybe they go through it a third time and they watch the integration classes or they make a small group. So a lot of people do level 2 over and over, and they find deeper and deeper layers of who they are. And I actually go through it every year myself. And a lot of people do level 3 at they'll go through level 2 and they'll do level 3 while doing level 2 again. So you can do that as well. There's a lot of ways to work through this. See, someone just wrote in the chat box, I'm glad I didn't wait. Level 2 helped me understand even better how to use the tools of level 1. That's exactly right. Primal Trust was born with the level 2 mentorship. And the reason why is because I saw so many people in these brain retraining nervous system programs using tools all day, but not addressing their personality and even the reason for rewiring their brain. I would ask them, what are you rewiring towards? Like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And they're like, I don't know. They had no idea who they were. So that's why I created the level 2 mentorship. And then I realized people needed a really good toolkit to get to the deepest layers of the personality, of the trauma patterns, etc. So level 1 and level 2, they work together. Sometimes people go through level 1, level 2, little level 3, they go back to level 1 and they do it again because they get deeper and deeper and deeper into the cycle of their patterns. And it can be a beautiful journey. And maybe you use the tools the first time around to address your body symptoms, but then the next time it's to address stuff with your relationship or work. I mean, I use these tools now to try to be a more balanced entrepreneur because I can get out of balance just like I could when I was sick. So that's my spiel on that. And I hope that this has been illuminating for some of you that it is important, in my opinion, that you do not hesitate on joining level 2. And, we've got both a comprehensive version and a simplified version. Even, it doesn't really matter which one you take. Maybe start with the simplified. If you really feel lost about a class, take the comprehensive and it will probably answer those questions. We have our new integration classes for level 2 that you can watch that are like a nice summary of each module as well. And I even teach new stuff in that. So again, this is almost like an advertisement for level 2, but it's really because a lot of you guys are missing the point here. It's not about the tools. The tools aren't what heals you. It's you changing you that heals you. Okay. So let's move on. So this kind of relates to the last slide, which is I am and I have. This is about you really seeing a new perception of your reality. And so I'd ask, are you using these tools, but is your personality changing as well? Because it should be, because there's a personality that got sick and the personality that's well is different. I would say 99.9% of the time, I would say it needs to be a slightly different personality to undo what it was that kind of got you sick in the first place. And, so I'm reminding you here that your self-talk and your worldview is what co-create your reality. And this is why just using tools alone isn't enough. Like you've got to change how you see the world. You've got to change how you're interacting with the world. This is where we really do that work in level 2 and level 3. So ultimately, what you're doing when you're changing your perception, you are actually reprogramming your subconscious attractor field of your life. And I was just talking, I'm going to pause this. I was just talking with somebody about this yesterday, that a lot of times we're trying to find the solution, right? We're like, how do I fix this? How do I solve this symptom? Oh my gosh, what does this mean? This is new. Your brain is stuck in a personality that thinks that it needs to come up with the solution. And in Primal Trust, we're actually trying to create a whole paradigm shift that your body has wisdom to resolve all of these things. And your job is to get into alignment, to live your best self, to live who you are. And in that higher vibration, your higher self, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, brings that solution to you as a side effect of you being you. Wouldn't that be a much better way of living? I see you guys nodding. You either having to figure it out, what does this mean, or I'm going to live my best self and know that I attract to me things that I might need to continue on my journey. You don't need to fix it and to solve it. That's just not the way the universe works when you start getting into higher dimension consciousness or higher awareness or more aligned ways of living. I see this again and again. People get into alignment, they start living their values, and things come to them. They realize, like, oh, I need to make this change. And somehow it just lets the body breathe in a new way or align in a new way. There's something so healing about getting into our authenticity. That is the most healing thing we can do. I mentioned this in class a month or two ago. I saw a research study. It was posted on Instagram, but it was actually research about how they measured the biofield, the electromagnetic field of the body with different emotions, love, joy, grief, anger, etc. And when people were in the sense of being authentic, their biofield was the most robust, aligned, powerful biofield. Authenticity, living your true self alignment, saying yes when you mean yes, saying no when you mean no, doing the work to discover who you are, which is that level 2 and 3, and then taking that discovery and using your level 1 tools to help you live it when you're feeling triggered, to help you live it when you're feeling like you want to people please, to help you not react and to hear the other person. And that's what we're doing. But you've got to make that choice to step into the authenticity, to step into a new version of you, a new personality. Many of you know I was just at Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long retreat again, or advanced follow-up retreat last week. And I really love that work. They're doing so much research with the University of San Diego to show that, I mean, it's truly not woo-woo. Like, he is using solid blood MRI, functional MRI data to show in when people literally change their personality, how they are living, how they are interacting, their illnesses start to literally disappear, or they start to self-produce, different biochemistry. Like, this is becoming research. This is going to be, mark my words, it's going to be more mainstream. We are going to show with solid data that as you shift who you are, how you're interacting, how you're showing up, your biochemistry will shift. So I can't emphasize enough, it's not the tools, you guys. It's what are the tools doing for you, and how are you showing up? How are you discovering a personality that's not the sick personality, the sick, victim conscious, upset personality? Okay, we've got to find out who that is and start embodying that. Okay, moving on. Number 7. This is a big one too. Worthiness. Do I deserve to heal? I personally struggled with this one a lot, and sometimes I can still feel this, okay? This is where you're like, I haven't fixed myself yet. I still do bad things. This is where you start to learn how to really acknowledge your unforgiven self-guilt and shame. And there's an unconscious unworthiness program that most of us have. Most of us have this through a lot of there's a lot of programming that relates to this. And so, I really would recommend that you look into examining, do I have any part of me that would say, I want to improve this about me before I let myself heal or before I let myself off the hook? This might be a perfectionist part of you. I know for me, like, my kids still have some health challenges. Okay. And for me, it was really hard to see myself happy and healthy and free when my kids were not free. And I felt like it was my fault. So I was like, no, I really got to perfect this mom thing before I let myself fully heal, because I felt so guilty about them. But I mean, obviously, we know that when mama heals, kids heal. Like, that's just how it is. Our kids just want to see us happy. They want to see us forgiving ourselves. So letting yourself off the hook is so important. A lot of times when I'm interviewing people, one of the most common things they say is, I learned to put myself first. I learned to put myself first. And in order to put yourself first, you would have to feel worthy. You'd have to not give up on yourself. You'd have to feel like you deserve that hour a day of brain retraining or journaling or whatever the things are that you're doing. You'd have to feel like you're worthy of it and you deserve it. And so whatever you need to do to find that worthiness, that's important too. Okay. We want to get into the sense of wholeness, even with our imperfection, that we do messy things, we make mistakes, and yet at the same time, we're whole. And these two truths exist. I do things that are messy sometimes, and I'm whole and I'm worthy of my health and my happiness and my joy. So important. So important. A lot of people, when you learn and read about their healing, they really do decide to feel worthy of it. They decide to love themselves. So for you, I would really recommend that you examine this and take an inventory of how you're feeling in this way. This again is how you start to unlock your true self. Your true self is beautiful and wonderful, but you also have this messy humanity, and that's part of your true self. They coexist. We learn about that in level 2. The messy humanity and the beautiful divinity, and all of that is you. And one doesn't cancel out the other. It's both and. It's both and allowing that to be there is a big part of your healing. Okay. So I'm not going to talk too much about the last slide, but I do believe that for some people, addressing things like their structural stability, because your spine is part of your nervous system. It's part of the feedback loop. Now, when people get obsessive about that and they think that's the only issue, that can be a challenge. And also know that your nervous system health, your energetic health, your emotional state actually highly influence your spinal alignment. And I've had my own experience of healing upper cervical instability with a lot of my own energetic and emotional alignment, in addition to some structural work. But I'd say the most important piece was emotional, actually. So structural stability, nutrition, of course, like when we're healing, our body needs good nutrients to help it heal and to help it detoxify. Obviously doing what you can to clean up your home. I had to still live in mold when I was healing. It's possible, it's harder, but if you can clean it up, go ahead and do that. And I also personally feel like limiting screen time and spending time in nature and grounding is really helpful for the body. I do think it can help influence. So creating that solid foundation is another big piece of the puzzle here. So that's wrapping up a handful of these points. Again, watch the first video if you haven't watched that yet. We have it inside the community as well as on YouTube. And just make sure that you are taking a step back and looking at your entire approach. And are you mistaking the tools for missing some of these blind spots? And that might help give you a little more alignment on your healing path.